So 25 years ago, where were you? What led you to start Rodial? Like, what was it that pushed you on, like, I want to start my own brand? How'd you get there?
I was always passionate about fashion and beauty. My first job back in Greece, where I'm originally from, was a beauty writer for 17 magazine.
So cool.
So 25 years ago, there was nothing in the market that was exciting. It was a basic moisturizer, basic serum, a basic cleanser. So when trying different products, I got the idea of coming up with a range that offered targeted treatments to specific skin concerns. There was nothing like it at the time. I was not ready to start a business. I was studying English literature. I graduated and I thought, you know what, I am intrigued and I want to learn more about business. So I actually came to New York and continued my studies. I did a business degree. And when I graduated, I was lost. Because I knew in my mind I wanted to be in a creative industry, but when you go into the business school route, then you either end up in consulting or banking. Back in the day, everyone does the same, and you have the peer pressure, and I had a lot of debt I had to pay. So I ended up getting a job in banking, first in New York, and then moved to London to be with the European headquarters. And living in London, working in banking, I thought this was going to be my life.
Wow.
And a couple of years into it, I started losing any interest whatsoever. I became a very bad employee. And I'm not going to go into details, but one day I was called in the boardroom and got fired. It was devastating. That was my first proper job. I was embarrassed. But after I left banking, I processed it for a few months. It was the best thing that ever happened to me because it made me realize, what is it that I want to do with my life? I don't want to be in the corporate world. I want to be creative. I love the business side of things, but I also need to be in an industry that I feel passionate about.
Yeah.
So I go back to my original idea of a beauty brand, targeted treatments to skin concerns. And in my early 20s, I thought, I'm going to start a beauty brand. So that's where the idea came, and that's where I was in my life.
Wow, that's amazing. Did you ever feel that being an entrepreneur was going to be in your future? I mean, having a passion for beauty, like that's the foundation, right? I love that. Now I'm going to become an entrepreneur and pursue this path. Like that, as I'm sure you can attest, that is a hard path. It's not an easy path to take.
It's not an easy path to take, and especially when I come from a family of teachers. So both my parents, they're retired now, they were teachers. And I was not in an environment or in a family that was promoting business or being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
And when I was raised, my parents were pushing me to find a job that would give me security because that's all they knew. So it was a big step to be the first one in my family to decide to start their own business with all the risk involved, the lack of salary, the lack of knowing where am I going to get my income tomorrow. So these were scary times at the beginning. But what really helped is I was very young. I didn't have responsibilities. I didn't have a mortgage. I didn't have family at the time. So I felt, okay, well, this is the time. If I take the risk, this is the right time to do it. So that's how it all started.
Wow. And in the early days, when you started, so you were in London then?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's when the brand was born, essentially. What were those early days like, even in the first couple years of creating new products from scratch? What was that like?
Yeah. So the ironic thing was, coming from the world of banking, I did put together a great business plan and I went out there to secure investment, but I didn't get it. I presented to a lot of private equity VCs. No one wanted to invest in a female-led beauty brand back in the day. So I got really disappointed. Part of the disappointment was I didn't get funds to start a business, but part of it was I didn't get that tap in the back that you are doing the right thing, because that would be a validation for me. So I decided I'm going to do it super small from a back room at home. I had a bit of savings, about $20,000 from my days in banking. And I said, I'm going to start small, invest all my savings in it, start a small production, and see what happens. So at the beginning, it was a one-woman show from a back room at home. The first thing I did, I booked a ticket to go to a trade show in Italy, Bologna, called Cosmoprof.
Yep.
Obviously, there's one in the US.
But the Italian one is huge,
It's
right?
massive.
Yeah.
It wasn't as big 25 years ago, but I went there. I met manufacturers, packaging companies, designers, labs. I got a full suitcase with all sorts of cards and leaflets and samples. I went back to London, went through them. I selected the top ones, did some calls, and that's how I put all my resources together from 48 days in a trade show. And then everything was small and slow. I remember even when I had meetings, obviously I was working from back room at home. I didn't have a meeting room. And back in the day, working from home wasn't glamorous as it is now. It was frowned upon. You know, if I wanted to hire someone and I said to them, we don't have an office, they wouldn't take me seriously. It was very hard for me to even hire people on that basis. So I was doing all my meetings at a local Starbucks. And Monday to Friday, I would stay at my home office, put together the orders, calls, organize meetings with go and see the factory. And then on the weekends, I would go to our first store, which was Phoenix in Bond Street, and sell the products for the weekend. So it was such a tiny operation to start with.
Wow. Isn't that crazy thinking and talking about it? And being where you are now is incredible because, I mean, we'll talk a little bit more about where your career has gone, but the brand itself expanding, anytime I think of anyone in a room in their house, as most brands start, but when you really think about it, it's really inspiring for people to see, you know, sometimes you just have to go for it. And it's not guaranteed, obviously, but like, it's just so inspiring to think about those days. I'm sure for you, looking back, you feel obviously really proud of your brand and what you've done.
It's sometimes I feel very nostalgic, and when I get into where we are right now, that can be it can be hectic, but in different ways that are not necessarily creative. I do feel a little bit nostalgic about the first days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you hitting